Today's Q&A is about transportation, and the question goes as follows. Somebody passed a truck on the highway, and there was a decal on the side of the truck saying that it's certified kosher. And it's like, really? Come on. Why would a truck need to have hashgacha? Seems really strange. So the answer goes as follows. When we buy packaged food, the packaging is disposable, and we don't pay any attention. It doesn't make a difference to us whether the bottle is kosher or the box is kosher. It makes a difference because it's just nothing, it's just a box. But when manufacturers ship items, liquids, in large quantities from one place to another, they do that in containers that get used again and again. All different types of, you'll hear what I mean when I say containers. And the obvious question therefore is, well, if today they're using the container to carry something kosher, what happened? What was in it beforehand? And let me give you some examples of that. A country in the Far East is making tropical oil, palm oil, and they ship it to the United States in the hold of a ship. Hold means basically this huge metal box. A huge cavern. It's as big as a gym, and they fill up the product in it. And the ship could have dozens of them, and each one carries a different material than the next one. So the most obvious Kashrus question is that the palm oil coming from Malaysia to Louisiana could have been yesterday carrying lard, that means non-kosher animal fat, from Texas to China. So the hold itself might have become kosher, not kosher. A little more, less obvious issue is that the palm oil might be in a hold that shares a wall with another hold, which is carrying a non-kosher stearic acid. So which means this time might spread from that stearic acid into our palm oil. Now, so far we talked about ship holds, but the first of these kind of issues of what was in here yesterday in the same hold applies to tanker trucks like what this person saw on the road, and that is if we have a truck that's carrying corn oil from Nebraska to Ohio, might have been on its trip right before this carrying a non-kosher wine vinegar from New York to Oklahoma, which is to say is that the walls of the tanker, the truck itself, the liquid sat right in those walls of the tanker. They became non-kosher and could potentially affect the kashrus of the corn oil that it's carrying today. For a truck, that issue is more serious than for a ship or for a rail car, and that's because ships and rail cars, it takes quite some time between when it drops off one load till it picks up the next one. So it's always in the binyomri, which is to say is b'diavad. The time that comes out would not make the food treif. But a truck is not like that. Truck can drop off a load now, and in a few hours from now be ready picking up the next load, so it would not be in a binyomri. Now, trucks don't have what I mentioned before about an adjacent hold issue, but they do have their own issue, which is they get washed out at all kinds of wash facilities, wherever they happen to be, and those wash facilities will recycle or recirculate the hot water that they use for washing the trucks. So a truck might always carry kosher products, but it's get washed with hot water, which is treif from some other truck. And the same kinds of issues like this apply to when companies ship products not in trucks or rail cars or boats, but in totes or drums. Those are smaller containers, which again, they're reusable and they get passed around. Today carries one thing and tomorrow carries the next thing. Now, in a lot of the cases that I mentioned, there are halachic rationales to say that the food is mutter, even though it was even though one of these issues was there. Maybe the tam that comes out is batal b'shishim. Maybe it qualifies as something called asur l'shtamish b'shefa, where it's always batal b'shishim. Maybe the cleaning that you do kashrus in. Maybe it's nice and tam lefgam. The taste of the treif gives a negative effect onto the kosher product. Maybe it's ein binyomri, and maybe there may be other reasons to be also. And all those might be appropriate for cases of b'diavad, or if a person doesn't have any other better choice than to do that. But Baruch Hashem, here in the United States, companies are willing to put in effort to make sure their food is kosher l'chatchila, without any kind of questions like this. And therefore, they have gone to the extent of getting the transportation certified as well. And that makes sure that everything is done perfectly and properly and not having to rely on bittuls or etc. or other kinds of things that are only meant to be b'diavad.